Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guests and I each pick a film related in some shape or form, and hopefully by the end of this episode, you have two films to go check out. And it's the first Thursday of the month, which means my wife Jess is joining me. Jess, thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure to be here, Shane.
Glad to hear. And we're going to be talking about a double dose of Alien Invasion, First Contact films from John Carpenter, both in very different senses of how those are portrayed. We have 1988's They Live and 1984's Starman. So let's get started with They Live. They influence our decisions without us knowing. They numb our senses without us feeling it. They control our lives without us realizing it. They live. And that is the synopsis.
Wow.
Directed by John Carpenter, starring Rowdy Roddy Piper and Keith David, along with a whole bunch of familiar faces of John Carpenter, like Buck Flower and Peter Jason. And here we have this very iconic film. I have a poster Obey up on my wall in my office here. But Jess, what are your general thoughts on They Live?
It gets more depressing with each viewing, and it's not the movie's thought, Shane. Shane.
Yes, this is indeed a film that is very Reaganomics coded. And
we had no way of knowing what would happen, Shane. Nobody had any idea.
Well, and yes, it feels very relevant and poignant in Trump's America as well in 2025. John Carpenter obviously was not a fan of Ronald Reagan and capitalism in general and Reaganomics, and this film torpedoes them very directly.
I do like the graphic design in this and the secret hidden subliminal messaging.
Yes.
It's clean. It's very C or whatever the Italian fashion. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? In Rome, Mussolini had this like propaganda poster up, and it just said "C" a bunch of times.
Well, it's probably.
I'm sure that's where
it has some influence, I am sure. But you have obey, spend, consume, reproduce everywhere. We got these simple black sunglasses that open up your world and make you wake up to the reality that a bunch of human beings have been replaced by formaldehyde-faced aliens everywhere.
You gotta admire the insults in this. He's very creative.
Yes, some of the dialogue in
delivery
this
is chef's kiss.
Which that's very interesting because some of the dialogue in this is a bit clunky
Whatever.
when it's dealing with like normal just chatter, but like when it has something to say, it really does. See, you look normal. You real effing ugly, formaldehyde face. Or I have arrived to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Absolute classic.
Or my personal favorite, Mother Nature's a bitch and she's back in heat. Which ridiculous dialogue, but
we love it for that.
It is so fun. It is so 80s, and it's so 80s cheese, like genre B movie flick kind of stuff. And Rowdy Roddy Piper is not the strongest dramatic actor, like
to be.
Well, because like this is so Kurt Russell coded, like this, and it would have been a very different kind of performance from Kurt Russell.
I have to say, probably the same amount of having his ass kicked in this. He gets beat up a lot. As does Kurt Russell in most of the movies he's in.
Well, I feel like Kurt Russell would have been a lot more naturalistic because, like, the first couple of scenes you meet Nada, like Roddy Piper just having casual conversations with people is a little stiff.
And he's huge. He's a huge man.
Which is so funny because I've watched every WrestleMania. I used to have collections of wrestling DVDs and stuff like that. And he was so much smaller than like so many other wrestlers at the time. But then you look at him next to regular humans and he's just like a monster of a man.
Keith David, who like
is not a small man.
No, but he's not like huge. He's not bulky.
No, he's not like a professional athlete built. He's like just a regularly strong guy. But when Roddy Piper gets into the insults and the one-liners, like he
Yeah,
like
shines.
he taps into that pro wrestler persona, just nails them.
It's all hammy.
But and especially with him in contrast, like Keith David is so natural and
Yeah,
so comfortable, and he really anchors this film down. And come on,
he's the
like,
straight man.
yeah, and you can't talk about They Live without talking about the drag 'em out
That's a
alley
great fight.
fight that they have in this movie, which this did not need to go on for this had to be at least 8 minutes
Yeah,
of just pure
it did need to go
them
on. It was fun.
beating the shit out of each other. Which that's what Roddy Piper brought. Like he choreographed, they went to town with it. And this is brutal.
Yeah, I mean
It's
they're really beating each other up.
awkward and clumsy and violent
Like an actual street fight.
in a really realistic kind of way. To the point where I'm convinced Roddy Piper broke when Keith David tried to break the bottle and it all just shattered and he kind of like chuckled, but then Keith David came at him. Just
Never
that
let him know your next move.
he does so many pro wrestling moves, it's so much fun. That fight is visceral and brutal, and you don't see fights like that in movies.
No, because it's hard to watch.
And like you see stuff like that, like you'll watch a S. Craig Zahler film who's channeling movies like this with so much brutality. And this film has big, clever, interesting ideas. I'll say very blunt, but I
Oh
don't think,
yeah, I mean it's not that deep.
well, no, I don't think John Carpenter was going for subtlety,
No,
nor does
no, nothing about
he
this is subtle.
nor does he generally go for subtlety. And like it's all like obey, consume, reproduce. It's all there. It's
Yeah,
all
livestock.
yes, it's
That's how
all spelled out for you.
that's how we treat livestock.
But like the sci-fi elements are so cool. The that raid of the
Yeah,
unhoused people in their little like
you
tent
mean
area,
the bulldozing of the what do they call those tent
that was
encampment
insane.
encampment?
It was so brutal and so visceral.
And that happens.
But like just the way that John Carpenter shoots this, it's terrifying.
Mhm.
And it should be because, that's what they're
Because it's
known for.
horrible.
Yeah. And there's just something really special about it. And, there's a lot of fun character actors along the way. This is this is a movie that I love, but will admit there's very obvious flaws to this movie because this is one of those John Carpenter films that like his aspiration, ambition, and scale is not achievable with the budget that he
No.
has. And you can see that because once the third act rolls around, the third act's like 10 minutes
Yeah.
because it feels so rushed
Well, it's
because,
isolated too. I mean, you see one hallway, one studio, one ballroom. That's it.
well,
That's
yeah,
all you get.
yeah, and
Oh, and the roof.
it's like they don't have the money to make this big sprawling third act. Like it isn't as bad as like Ghost of Mars where they literally didn't have a third act because they couldn't afford to do what they wanted to. But like it comes to abrupt ending, but it's still visceral and shocking. Like what happens with Keith David's character, that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's shocking. And then the last minute or two of this movie is so perfect when all the aliens are revealed and it's revealed that Roger Ebert and George Siskel are aliens and they're shit talking a John Carpenter
I
film,
mean, it makes sense
which
that they would be if they're influential.
on the nose, but and John
Yeah.
Carpenter didn't appreciate critics by 1988, so
I'm sure
taking
at least Ebert loved it though, at
and then
least in his old age.
it was hilarious with the woman riding that dude, and then
Oh yeah.
he's an alien. It's like, what's wrong, baby? And cuts the credits. Um, this is it has an interesting score because, like, obviously it's a John Carpenter score, but it's like do do do
It's a little more jazzy, a little
do
more bluesy.
do. It's very bluesy, very like do 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 ch, 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 do do do, and that's it.
Yep.
That's like the whole score, whole
It's
entire movie.
fine. I mean, it's minimalist, just like the propaganda posters.
Like it. it fits. This is a vibe for sure, and this is peak cult classic
Yeah, I was gonna
movie
say no wonder
making
this is a cult classic.
because like it didn't its budget wasn't big enough.
Not
It had a pro wrestler as the lead actor in it. Like none of this should work,
it's camp.
but it works because John Carpenter was king of making genre flicks.
Yeah.
And this is like pitch perfect 80s B movie, just glory for sure. Jess, do you have any other thoughts on They Live?
No, because they won't let me.
How dare
It's
they?
called They Live, Shane, not They Think.
Oh my. But let's shift gears then to our other film from 1984. It is Starman.
Way more nudity in this one.
Yes. This is from director John Carpenter, starring Jeff Bridges as a deceased man and also an alien.
An
Um,
alien disguised as a deceased man.
correct. And Karen Allen, who is a grieving widow. And you have Charles Martin Smith, who is a researcher who's working with the government, chasing after them along the way. And an alien takes the form of a young Wisconsin widow's husband and makes her drive him to his departure point in Arizona. Distrustful government agents, along with more ambivalent scientists, give pursuit in hopes of intercepting them. But Jess, what are your general thoughts on Starman?
I think it's underappreciated. I mean, it's not like when you say John Carpenter, definitely not one of the first to think of.
No.
But I enjoy this for what it is. It so res run.
I I can't imagine that the creator of Resident Alien had never seen
Yeah, it
Starman
would.
before.
I don't find that believable if they
Um,
think they have
this
such.
is an Academy Award nominated film.
No,
Jeff Bridges was nominated for Best Actor
I mean
for this
he
movie.
did a good job acting weird and awkward.
Well, because it's incredible character work. Like
Yeah,
just like what
uh,
Alan Tudyk does in Resident
he
Alien is
seems truly
perfect.
ignorant.
I learned to drive by watching you. Red
Green, green,
mean red means stop. Green means go. Yellow means go very, very fast.
as he's casually driving away from a four-car accident.
Yup. It just this film is a fascinating film because you don't really get real romance in John Carpenter films. That's just not something that really is a thing in any of his films. And this is oddly a fitting romance because it's so weird.
Yeah, I would
And
honestly.
like
He didn't seem involved at all, but she was like, I would have rather seen her go to therapy, but whatever.
it's one of those things where like if you're gonna tell me that John Carpenter made a romance and I'm like, he made some kind of romance movie,
It's
and then
weird
you're
as
like,
hell.
it was this, I'm like, oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
Because the whole entire idea is Karen Allen's character Jenny falling in love with this alien
who looks
who
like
looks like her husband, but it's processing this grief. And Karen Allen, like, you brought this up while we were watching, is like, whatever happened, like, what happened to her after this movie? Like, she only had a few big roles in between this and then showing back up again in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in
shout out
2008.
shout out to whoever on Letterboxd said she should have been cast in every 80s movie. Agree.
Because she was fantastic in this. And honestly, if this was getting awards attention, I get it. Jeff Bridges' performance is a lot showier because it's acting weird and being like an alien.
And being naked.
But like Karen Allen's fantastic in this. She brings so much emotion. You
She gets
feel for
naked too.
her. Jess is
Not as
obviously
much.
Jess is obviously caring at more about the nudity in this movie than the
By how much skin I see.
okay. So Karen Allen's fantastic in this, and she just has this very empathetic approach. And we see her at this horrible point in her life at the
Hmm.
beginning of this film where she is an emotional
I
wreck.
mean, it had been what, like months, not even years since he died.
And so this is fresh. And then there's just this grotesque practical effect body horror,
Oh yeah,
like
you see this little
baby.
baby, and then he like Benjamin Buttons it real fast.
Well,
Creepy.
and it's disturbing, but it's so on point for Carpenter to have these like really strange practical
He's
effects.
just like a grown man.
And
He's like, shit.
then he's just Jeff Bridges.
Ugh,
And Jeff Bridges is
I
fantastic
think
in
I want to
this.
see that.
I do really enjoy Charles Martin Smith, who's this as described ambivalent scientist who's like along for the
I
ride.
mean, he's in it for the love of the game.
He's in it for the scientific like first contact element, but he's, paired up with the government who is desperately trying to, stop this alien.
I
And
want him.
this film is one of those types of films like I connect with it deeply, but there's a lot of uneven tonal
Yeah,
elements to this because there's moments that are romantic and deeply emotional. There's that moment where he brings that dead deer back to life
yeah.
that is just like hauntingly moving.
And they just kind of move on.
Well, that and then it kicks into this very brutal, like all the violence in this is very visceral and
Yeah, we
aggressive.
don't spend any time on the violence, really.
Well, and especially like the third act that turns into this giant military
Yeah,
operation in the desert and explosions and all kinds of stuff. I'm like John
it's the
Carpenter had the
problem.
budget for this one. And it goes wild. And it's this big actiony genre climax to a film that's very intimate and like darkly funny and like it's more harrowing than it is romantic, I feel like, because so much of this is sad. It's a very
Yeah,
somber kind of experience. Yes, it is funny at times, but so much of their connection is rooted in this sadness and this grief
mm.
that she's trying to get through. And like, he gives her a baby at the end to help her through this grief and moving on and
Because
stuff like
if
that.
there's one thing I know about babies, it's that they're easy and they will solve all of your problems.
Well, it wouldn't be like she wouldn't be the first person to think about, oh, I hope I have a baby in me because my gonna die.
Oh yeah, no, it happens all the time. Especially in it's a trope actually.
It is,
Someone to remember him by, I believe is the trope
yep,
name.
it is somebody in the headlines at the very moment that had an interview last week about it.
Oh,
But it's one of those types of things where I can see where people are grossed out and weirded out by this movie because it is weird.
it is weird.
But I appreciate the ambitious attempt at genre mixing that John Carpenter does with this. And I think as a whole, it finds this strange balance of this is so much its own type of romance film in John Carpenter's hands that I feel like it works. But like, I wouldn't want to see him do any like regular
No,
romantic
yeah,
movies
work.
because I don't think he would have a good handle on it. But I think
No.
this is a story that has enough weird genre-y elements to be able to explore with it. And yeah, Jeff Bridges was fantastic. It's a very creative and interesting and weird performance. And
As it should be.
Karen Allen is fantastic too. Um, it's very interesting because I was just writing about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's one of those types of things where it's like first contact films
Mhm.
can be so interesting, and like this is one of the weirder ones, to
Yeah,
be perfectly
yeah.
honest. And it makes sense because John Carpenter doesn't do like normal,
Hmm.
and I don't want him to.
Well,
Like that's not the
it's different too because a lot of them, a lot of first contact ones are like, are they here to help us or hurt us? And in this one, neither really. They're just kind of hanging out, checking us out.
absolutely.
He doesn't really help us in any way, which is fine. They're just kind of taking notes.
But Jess, do you have any other thoughts on Starman?
No,
Like this is a specific recommend for me. Like I don't like if you love romance films, I don't think this is
no,
the type
no,
of
no.
thing that's gonna scratch that
I
itch.
would have to really know the person to recommend this
But
to.
like I feel like if you love genre movies and you're not into romance, this might be the kind of romance movie you might actually appreciate because you're not probably thinking that it's a romance film. Because it's weird and deals with loss and grief and what we latch on to be able to process our grief, but in a very John Carpenter, very genre-y kind of way. But that's a wrap here on another episode of the Wasteland Retrospective. Next week, my buddy Mike and I, our fearless leader here of the SPM crew, will be diving into a couple of late 90s creature features with Anaconda and Lake Placid. And next month, Jess and I are going to be diving into a couple of the documentaries spoofed by Documentary Now.
That was
It
the only
is,
criteria.
yeah, and we're going to be watching Grey Gardens and Grizzly Man. But Jess, thank you so much as always for coming on and talking movies with me.
Yeah,
Jess does enjoy some John Carpenter, so
me
I thought
too.
this was a
I do.
fun one for us to do together.
True.
But thank all of you for listening. Make sure to like and comment and share on this episode. What's your favorite first contact alien flick? What's your favorite weird romance? Um, is it Lisa Frankenstein? That is a good one.
Is it which?
Wicked, yeah. Wicked sure is a weird romance. Um, whoever thought a scarecrow and a green lady
Oh my
would fall in
gosh,
love?
spoilers for a 20-year-old musical. That's very popular.
Come on, it's not like everybody hasn't watched it already by the time this episode's come out. But make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPNM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding. We have so many different shows, a lot of ones about movies, but something for everybody. So check it out. And if you're interested in becoming a guest on one of these shows, or you have an idea for your own podcast and want a place to house it, make sure to reach out to us on our website. And if you like our logo, check out Highflyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.